It's too cold?
Yeah, that's why people are here. Too close.
Isn't it wonderful? Is it like wonderful?
Yes.
You know, I have to tell you, I drove up this morning from Bethel Island, which is Antioch, Pittsburgh, Brentwood, and they're on the water. I mean, the wind was probably 60 miles an hour. They call that the Delta breeze. I'm here to tell you, we have experienced it, but this morning it died down, which was good. But oh my God, it was roaring through there. So anyway, welcome you guys, and here we are. Before I start, did everyone who brought a piece of art to be critiqued by Cheryl Gleason, have you put a number on it? Kept the other number? Everybody's up and rolled in on that. Okay, good. I'm following up with Deborah, which is also the senior center. We have this form. Oh, wait. We have this other form. This other form that the senior center requires that we sign, which is releasing them of any liability. Did everybody sign one of these pages?
Just once, you don't have to do it every time.
Oh, no, I haven't signed it.
Okay, you haven't? Do you have extra?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've got one.
And I think Cheryl waved her hand as well.
What's that?
I said Cheryl waved her hand. I saw it.
I signed nothing.
No, we don't see Cheryl. Did you get it from here? I'll give you a form. There you go. Okay, is any,
I'm sorry, she said
I'm trying.
sign.
And then I give it back to you.
Yes, and I
oh,
did.
that's why, ask for assistance. Okay, so people are gonna ask you for assistance. Yay.
That wouldn't be the first time.
Can't hear you. You want to use my phone or something?
Okay, so what's that?
The mic isn't on or something, I can't hear you.
Can you hear? Okay, if I put my mouth right up there, I'm good. Okay,
You want to use my
is that
phone
better?
or something?
Yes, you're hitting the speaker now.
Okay, sorry about that. I was kind of waving it around, wasn't I?
Yeah, over here.
Okay, so here we go. Yeah, we were talking about the weather. Why does everybody talk about the weather? Anyway, it's good weather. Okay, so we're all set. Okay, what I'd like to introduce, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Cheryl Gleason. Cheryl happens to be our judge for the fall member show, and we're excited about that. Cheryl is the artist and curator at the MAC, which is the gallery in Rancho Cordova where our Mother Lode show is being held. And Cheryl's going to talk to us about the elements that go into judging, looking at art, what they look for, and maybe get down to the nitty-gritty of what a juror actually is looking at. I think that's exciting. Oh, okay, I've already said that one. Forget that one. Okay, and she's also going to critique. We've got her set up where she can critique 5 pieces of art. And maybe if we have time, maybe you could squeeze another one in. Okay, because we've got them all over there.
It's my day off.
Okay, so with that, let's get started. And oh, the other thing is, Cheryl loves to have questions. Okay? You have something on your mind, you ask it, okay? Because she'll answer it. Okay. And you can just keep sitting there, okay? Okay. All right, here's Cheryl.
I don't think you'll have any problem hearing me. Thank you guys, first of all, Linnell and the board, for inviting me to come speak with you. It is a pleasure and an honor. I'm also a PAA member, have been for a few years. And that's the funny thing, we have a lot of crossover between Rancho Cordova Arts and PAA Arts, and I think that's kind of how it should be. It's not an exclusive club that we all live in and we don't talk to one another, because sharing is caring. I'll tell you that I've been the art director at the MAC now for, this is my 6th year. This December will complete 6 years. For those, how many people have not ever been to the MAC? It's okay, we won't throw you out of the room.
Oh, no, they've all
But if
just
you
been
don't come
judged.
to the mother load, you might lose your membership. So I've been an artist. I went to UC Davis. I've been an artist for a number of years, and I've been doing this where I set all the shows, I curate all the shows, I hang all the shows, I schedule all the shows, and up until recently, till this year, I did it by myself with a lot of volunteers. Now I have an assistant that helps me 3 to 4 times a week, and her name is Andrea. Some of you know Andrea. And that is hopefully going to make this next year a lot better and a little easier on me. I'm also the president of Rancho Cordova Arts currently, and I'm also a commissioner for the city of West Sacramento for arts, culture, and historic preservation. So I have about 8 minutes of free time a week, and you're getting it. This year I was a juror at the State Fair. I've jurred Sac Fine Arts Bold Expressions. I've jurred the regional Northern California show in Solano. I've juried quite a few shows and judged shows. And I think the things that artists want to know about is, what is it that a juror is looking for? Well, I'm going to tell you, just like someone looking at your art, it's very biased. Because the juror, even as hard as they will try to keep their own artistic expression out of it, they have likes and dislikes, right? They have things that, colors and patterns and things that draw them into a piece. They have inherent things that they're looking for. You're not going to know that. A lot of people say, well, go look at the juror's work. That will help you a lot on what the juror likes. That's not true. That can be sometimes true, but most artists, how many of you paint realistic but really like abstract art, right? How many of you paint abstract but really like realism? Or you paint oils but you really love watercolor? We can't silo people like that. So I think that, and if it's a really good juror, they're gonna like all kinds of art because they're gonna appreciate the qualities. They're gonna take into consideration color, composition, emotion, fluidity, energy. All of these things, when you look at something that creates a reaction in you, that is why you like it, right? Not that, oh, that's pretty. I can say a lot of things are pretty, but I don't really like them. Would I hang it in my house? So those kinds of things are very different. A good juror takes their own sort of biases and tries to look at those 7 elements of design. They look at color, they look at hue, they look at contrast, and they're putting all of those things together. They're also looking at the execution. How well did the artist execute that medium? Now, this gets into tricky territory because you can look at a painting and you can look at a painting and say, they executed that brilliantly, and Kathy can look at that and go, my 12-year-old granddaughter can do that. But we have to look at also sort of the intention of the artist, right? Some people paint looser. Does that mean that they can't paint a trompe-l'oeil painting? No. It means that that's their style. That is the style they want to create. I am in awe of people that, like Karen Burns, that can produce trompe-l'oeil art, and it's magnificent. But it's not the kind of art I want to hang in my house. It's not the kind of art I'm drawn to personally. But I can appreciate the execution, the talent, the color, the contrast, the composition, and all of those elements, and judge it by that merit. And that's what jurors should be jurying and judging for. Now, as a juror, because a juror and a judge are two different tasks, but they can be the same person, okay? So you jury in a show from, let's say you've got 400 pieces, and you have to choose 120 of them. Like the Motherlode show. As a juror, you have to look at all of this art and say, which 120 pieces is going to look good in the gallery hung together. Now that doesn't mean that the 380 or 280 that get kicked out were not excellent, that the juror didn't not like, that when it comes down to it, it is a really difficult decision. I mean, the job of being a juror and or a judge, the judging part is even worse in terms of difficulty. You have to imagine the gallery itself, how these things are going to look on the walls together, and I can tell you that I have had jurors that have really jurred in excellent quality work. And there's always that one piece that, as a curator, I go to hang, and I can't find one place in the gallery that isn't going to make the thing to the left or the right of it look bad, or it look bad in the presence of other things. Think about it as like a wine pairing, wine and food. The wine is good, the cheese is good, but do they both go together? Maybe, maybe not. That is what a juror is doing. So they should be thinking, how can I put on an excellent show by giving diversity of style? In other words, I'm not going to pick 120 watercolors that all look the same and create a cohesive show that way. I have to create a cohesive show by showing diversity of medium, diversity of style, diversity of color, but still keeping it a really well synergistic show, okay? Keeping that flow together. If you have a show of 120 pieces and you have one portrait, guess what's going to stand out like a sore thumb? That one portrait, because it has nothing to talk to, right? It has nothing that it relates to in these other pieces. Does that make any sense to you guys? Judging, saying who's first, who's second, who's third, who's best of show, who gets honorable mention, bias tends to come a little bit more into this picture. It's easier to juror a show than it is to judge a show. And then you have to go back, you take those pieces that are your, say, top 10%, and you start weeding them down. And at this point, you really have to start looking at what is the artist trying to convey? What is the message? Now you're taking a little bit more into the concept of the artist and the piece. And ultimately, it's going to be what resonates with that juror. And unfortunately, I mean, one of my favorite things as a gallerist, I go around and I like to sort of ear hustle their thoughts, right? And ask them a question. So what was it about this piece that you know, because I learn as well, right? The more you talk to people about why they like something and why they don't like something, it really helps enhance your own artistic expression, but also your own knowledge of how other people look at art and different perspectives, because we're so siloed in the way that we think. And that's why doing group critiques, see, it's not an easy word, Kathy. You have nothing to be ashamed of. It's a very hard word, right? So having group critiques is really helpful because as an artist, we are so close and personal with this thing. And we may have started out with an image of it, and we might be happy to where it is now, but other people are seeing things that maybe are a little off, or we don't like it, but we can't tell where to go because we're afraid to mess it up, right? We're afraid that we've gotten this far, I need to stick with the plan. How many of you have done that and still ended up with a painting you hated? I've got a whole garage full. And then somebody will say, I really like that piece. And I'm like, really? Why? Because I want to know, why do they like it? Because inside my head, I'm still thinking of what I wanted to do or how I wanted it to come out, and it didn't quite express what I wanted it to. And so I want to know what it is that's catching them. What is the visceral or emotional or the story behind that that's grasping them, right? When I judged the bold expressions last year, not this current past year, but 2023, much like what's going to happen and has happened at every Motherlode, the judge gets up and talks about why they chose what they chose. And that is great information, whether yours is picked or not, right? But there was a gentleman, and I picked this piece because I kept going back to it. It kept drawing me back, and I couldn't figure out, why is this piece speaking to me? Because if I looked at it from initial point of view, it wasn't something that I would buy or that really spoke to, but there was something there that just kept me going back. It's kind of like you find something in a store and you really like it, but you don't buy it, and then you think about it. How often do you think about that shirt you didn't buy or those shoes you didn't buy, and then you end up going back and buying it? So something that brings you back means it's talking to you, it's having a conversation with you, it's engaging your mind, your spirit, your emotions. And I would say this guy was easily 89, 90. Very lovely man, very quiet. I had no idea what their intention was. So I gave what I thought the artist's intention was as I gave the presentation. And then I would turn to the artist if they were in the room and say, was I anywhere close, or am I off the board and I didn't even hit the target at all? When I finished his, I asked him, I said, was this close? He's like, I've never had anyone nail it like that before. He won Best of Show. And he said, no one's even, I get rejected all the time, and no one's even given me a second look or an honorable mention, let alone a best of show. So, thank you. And his neighbors came up to me, and this woman came up and said, "Can I give you a hug?" And I was like, "All right." Sure. So-and-so's my neighbor, and he has been deserving of this opportunity for so many years, and you are the first person that's given it to him. Right? Because we all want to be seen. And so when something talks to you or you see that, it's like if I see people that keep going back to a painting in the gallery, I'll go up and talk to them. What is it about this painting that you like? And then if I know something about the artist, where they live, where they're from, what the story behind it is, I can then talk to that. And then if they liked it and they came back and I can give them a story, most of the time it'll sell. Unless it's just out of their price range and they just want to have some more time with it because they can't afford to have it on their walls. All of those things are real and true. So when you're an artist talking to people about your art, what's the story behind it? Whether it's the process, where it's from, is it a memory? Is it, this was your great-great-grandfather's, blah, 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 blah. Those are the things that sell art, because art is very personal, it's very emotional, and it's very biased. What would you guys like to know about the inside of a juror or a judge's mind that you have been dying to ask? Matt?
Do you just look at the art, or do you look at the descriptions that the artist has made for that particular art, or the artist statement, or anything like that?
If there is an opportunity, so not all shows have that opportunity where there's a description about it. But if there is, I read it, because that, if by first glance you don't sort of get where the artist is coming from, that description really helps fill in a lot of the blanks, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I see where this thread was, and now I can tell you, or I can tell myself and that artist whether it hit the mark or not. So yes, I do read them. Not all platforms allow that though. And all jurors are jurying them without knowing the artists. However, we all know artists that they could try to hide, but you're gonna know a Randy Holleran, you're gonna know a Ron Hall, you're gonna know a David Peterson. They just have a style, right? They can't get away. So you have a hard time as a juror taking that out, but you really have to keep all of that in mind if you're gonna be fair and impartial. And I try to be as absolutely fair and impartial as I can. And I think that's why I don't know a lot of your guys' art. I know a few people's, which is why Linnell said it was okay for me to jury the show in August. Even though I'm a member, I never participate. These shows are only 4 days. It takes me 2 days to get up here, and I gotta turn around, come back and pick it up. That is not worth my time. 2 weeks, I'd be there. But, and lately, just getting something out onto the table and paints has been a pretty big struggle. So, did that answer your question,
Yeah,
Matt?
it did, thank you.
What other things do you guys want to ask?
What's wrong with your foot?
The story behind that.
Okay, so while I run all of the art in Rancho Cordova, the rest of my team does events throughout the city. And we do the 4th of July event in Hagen Park. So it takes us 2.5 weeks to set it up. And then July 5th, so the celebration is the 3rd and the 4th, fireworks, concerts both nights, long days, 4th of July parade, 18-hour day on the 4th of July, 112 degrees heat. I bet I drank a whole flat of Costco water with Pedialyte, and only peed twice in 18 hours. You can strike that from that. So the next day we gotta get up and we gotta be there at 8 o'clock in the morning again, because we have to start cleaning up. So we were pulling fencing. I had a flatbed golf cart with a 5-foot flatbed. We were pulling vinyl fencing. So we'd just gone back to what we call the laydown area, which is where all the machinery and stuff is. We dropped off a load of fencing. The fencing company has a forklift, and once the big huge boxes of fencing get full, the forklift picks it up and puts it on the flatbed truck, and when the truck's full, then they go take it back and they come back and get another load as we continue to work. So we dropped off a load. I was getting ready to drive out, so there's machinery on both sides and an aisleway down the middle. I saw a coworker backing up light towers with a gator right there. I saw the forklift there. We take off, and all of a sudden I look over here to make sure that George wasn't, taking off or, anything. So I glanced this way, and all of a sudden, smash. And I didn't see anything coming. But one of the forks got into the golf cart where my foot was, came across the top of my foot and slammed and crushed my leg sideways to the back of the golf cart. Broke my tibia and fibia. So it's a workman's comp thing, and we have no idea whose fault it is, but if he wasn't moving, then his fork should have been on the ground and I would have rolled right over them. So I have worked this scenario in my head every which way to Sunday, and there's no physical way that he wasn't moving forward as I was moving in order to get just one fork into my golf cart. There's just no way. So that's why they call them accidents. So we're 9 weeks into it. I've got 4 more weeks with this lovely boot, and I'm trying to make friends with it. It's the second time I've had it. After this, it's getting thrown away or bronzed. Art, right?
Is the pain gone?
Yeah, the pain was pretty much gone really quite quickly. But what it did do is I actually have more pain in my knee because the incident created, because this is all very stabilized, but it caused a Baker's cyst in the back of my knee, so my knee's swollen, so I had a hard time moving it. The boot doesn't help. It is really hefty. It's probably about 5 pounds. So this is probably the worst of it. Yeah.
I'm shooting above that.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will say this is a common question that some people have. Does it matter about the framing and matting, or do you just look at the art? No, everything matters. A judge and a juror will throw out matting and framing. If a frame is so scuffed up that it looks like it came from your garage 20 years ago, but the painting is absolutely fantastic, it's the overall appearance, so everything has to be looked at in that way. I get people that drop off things that literally have dust, they're just covered, and I'm like, did you just pull this out of your barn? You could, well, but you have a nicer barn. I could live in your barn.
Carolyn asks me that all the time. Did you just pull this out of the barn?
When I was judging the fair this year, there was a gentleman that had a beautiful, stunning metal piece that was rusted in parts, ground down and given textures in parts, and then he took a piece of foam core with his name, and it was probably about 12 inches long by 5 inches deep, and he stuck it right on the front of the piece. Right on the front of the piece. Everything gets a label. You're gonna know who did it. But he was all about, you need to know who I am. So I tried pulling it off. I couldn't get it off. So at the fair, you have to give them comments. And I gave him a lot of comments. You want to imagine this piece as it would hang in a client's house. There's no way I would buy a piece of house with a piece of foam core where the name is the most prominent thing on a 4 foot by 4 foot square piece of metal. It was horrible. So yes, and people that had pink frames on these pink scratched, dusty, old frames on these collages. Like the collage was very interesting, but I'm like, the frame just makes it look like it just came out of a thrift store in 1989. It was terrible. You are submitting to the state fair. That should, like, already, and I gotta say that the quality of art to the state fair has really dwindled. Jeremy Wells' piece was awesome. He's a PAA member. There were a few other PAA members here that had some really great quality things in the state fair, but overall I was so disappointed, so disappointed. So, I had a question. Lori?
I was wondering, how does judging or jurying 3D things come into play?
That's a great question. Same concepts. All of the different design concepts and things that you would judge 2D, you judge 3D as well. Movement, motion, contrast, color, texture. You look at composition of it. Let's say you sculpted a horse in clay and one of the legs is like a little wonky and it's just kind of short, but it's not like the horse is just naturally holding his toe down to where, you know how they rest that hind leg a little bit and it's a little slumped. So they're gonna look at the same thing. And you look at the style. So I saw a piece of art, and it was this rock that had been barely sculpted, and it was of a bear. It was in Idaho when I went to Idaho, and it was in the park. And the first comment that my friend said is, well, they weren't very energetic, or maybe they didn't realize what a bear looked, and this is how far they got and thought, okay, I'm good. Whereas I thought, they just wanted the hint, because all around there were the hints of a paw or the tail or the back leg, and they were all in a place on the rock where they would have been anatomically correct. That's called minimalism. Not that they were lazy. It was what they were trying to convey in a very shallow relief way. So you kind of look at that kind of thing. And then the same things, like what's the artist trying to convey? My friend Joe Bellicera, he was asked by another juror, well, you can't possibly jury that because that's not the type of work you do. So if you're not a baker, but somebody gives you a slice of lemon cake, do you not know if that's really good lemon cake or not? And you can tell the difference if it's, maybe not, it's been undercooked or cooked little too much and it's dry. You can pick out those things, right? You don't, when you're an artist, you study art. He has an MFA. You don't go to art school and not study all kinds of art. Just because your medium is something doesn't mean you don't have the skill set to jury or judge other types of medium. Although it may not be your most comprehensive, let's say, of mediums that you know about. What other questions? Those are great questions. Yes? Amy?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to read.
Don't make an eye contact.
Oh no, this eye looks this way all the time.
Sorry.
And there's two of you, by the way, so I'll focus the one on the right.
So you kind of scared the heck out of me when you started off with the pieces that are picked for a show are, you're looking for how they go together in the show as well. So it feels like, as an artist, you could totally miss the boat sometimes, and by no mistake of what you've done, it's just.
Correct, but don't take goes together as being they have to look like one another. You can have a sculpture that has, we'll take the sculpture that's on the table, the nice browns and things. That goes really nicely with the piece that's right next to it, standing there, that's 3x12 painting, because it looks good in color. But they're nothing alike, right?
They complement each other.
They complement each other. I mean, so it doesn't, things don't have to look alike, but you can have great landscapes and have similar types of photography that complement one another that look very different from one another. So they don't have to look alike. We're not doing, in that respect, apples to apples and oranges to oranges, but we're creating a nice fruit basket that really melds together. I'll tell you that, is Judy Lou Luce part of PAA as a member? So she has a very distinctive style. She's a pointillist. Most pointillists have very small dots of color. You know, if you start thinking back to Seurat and some Cézanne and some of those early impressionists into pointillism, her points are really large. So, and she uses very bright, vivid colors. Now, if I took that and put that primary colors next to that camel, you're gonna be like, so imagine yourself going around a gallery. So when you look at a gallery, I'll tell you how I hang a show. The first piece the person sees when they walk in the door, so all of you know where that wall is because you walked through that door before at the MAC. That's going to be a statement piece. It's got to be big. It's got to be bold. It's got to grab, because you want to draw people in, right? You want to draw people in. So then I take that piece and I go, okay, see the blues in this? Okay, what of all the other 120 pieces can I put that has, so that you don't create this jarring effect of, oh, look at this lovely peaceful, oh God. And you've got gargoyles. And you just went from this peaceful, serene lake into gargoyles. You want to create a flow for the viewer that they are not jarred. Probably one of the hardest shows I curated in the gallery was Jesse Reno. He is an artist out of Portland, Oregon, and he is a self-taught, interpretive abstract, interpretive primitive abstract painter, I think is what he calls it. And his pieces are so layered and have so much going on. And so if you have something that's got so much going on, you need to give the viewer a little breath in between. So if you've got something that's super busy, you might want the next piece to have something to have a little bit more calm. Because you don't want people to feel like by the time they get through the fifth one, their eyeballs are like, oh my God, right? You want the viewer to have a great experience. So that's what I try to do. Now, I don't know how others do that, but that's how I curate a show. I think of myself as the viewer and going through the gallery, and as I turn here, what's down here that's going to draw me this way as I turn that corner, because I know the flow of the gallery and how people usually attack it. And then you just got to work with certain things like the fire alarm that's right there in the place that you want to hang something, and that's all nice and red and totally distracting to a piece of art, but I didn't get to design the building. So it makes a little bit more, so you feel better now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, good. Don't be scared. Yes?
What about all the technical stuff they try to drill into you in school with the thirds and the bit and giving an escape and where your eyes and the, and a lot of times I'm just in the flow. It's like
You and me both. You and me both. So I, as an artist, am trying to get better at self-critique. But like language, it's a practice.
You guys suggested we answer this question with some artwork?
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
But here's the thing, when you look at any piece, ask yourself one question: where does my eye go first? Don't worry about thirds and the whatever Oculus thing is, or all that. Don't get too wrapped up to where you're so technical that you lose the flow and the passion and the feeling that comes out of it. Who's our first victim?
So Fab, if you could set this up so that we bring the easel into Cheryl's left shoulder there, and we can perhaps get the art on the camera as well.
Does that work?
Yes.
Here we go.
Okay, who's number 6? Okay, I know nothing about watercolor. Just kidding.
I don't either, Cheryl.
It is my least favorite because I think it's the hardest medium that anybody works in, quite frankly. I don't know why you people do it. It seems like torture. You're just watching paint dry. But that's my feeling on watercolor. Okay. Okay, so here's my, still see that, Linnell?
Yes.
Okay. Can you guys see it? Here, let me move up a little bit, I just need to, okay. What I like about this piece is it's got shape and shadow that are very ambiguous. So I'll tell you that I'm mostly an abstract artist. That doesn't mean I don't like realism, because this is realistic. This is the human form. It's but you can see the element of sky, the portrayal of sky with the light blue. You get that there's leaves or a bush or a tree behind the head. Where the sun is, where the light's coming from, right? She's done really well with getting the most light where the light would be coming. Maybe not quite, it would probably come a little bit, but it's hard to tell where this is at. That could be pretty accurate. But the light is coming in. This might be a little bit darker here, given that her neck is gonna stick out a little bit. makes this hand feel a little bit funny. I like the softness of the color. But my eyes immediately go to her eyes. Is that where your guys' eyes go?
Yeah.
And to me, it's because, generally speaking, either a very saturated color pulls us in, right? A deep red, a deep blue, something that is more overly saturated than something else in hue. But because they're very different, except for this little piece up here, which on the band of the hat, that is really the only thing that is of black, using black. So it's very different. So our eye, or my eye, goes straight there, which makes me now go, what is she looking at? So it now gives me a little bit of a story or a quandary. What's going on? If I can look at something and there's no questions that my mind asks of it, meh. But a picture that I can look around and see different textures, different color variation, how do the colors go next to each other? These are opposites, these are complementary colors. I think it would have been very interesting if this were sort of a muted red band on there to do complement of the green and the red. I think it could brighten it up. It could still be dark with a little bit of red and maybe give us a little bit more definition on that hat.
I would not have thought of that, but that's a really good idea. I may go home and do it.
And then I have to ask myself, is this the edge of the paper?
It probably is. I'm sorry, I just threw it there.
Yeah, threw it in there. So
It
this is one of those things. So this is a great example of giving something because we want to get it in, right? If this was in a frame, yeah, there is. If this was in a show and it were matted like that, big deduction.
Right, yeah, it wouldn't really.
Right, but that's, you gave a great example, so thank you,
Good, you're welcome.
of what not to do if this was going into a show.
Sure.
So, but if you didn't take the mat out and just the paper behind the.
Yeah, it's just that it's hanging, yeah.
It's like it's not even
I
attached.
had a young photographer and he left the top strip of white and the bottom strip of white, but nothing on the sides. And he matted and framed it like that. And I was talking with the interested buyer and she says, this is really good, but there's something that bothers me about it. And I said, is it the white border on the top and bottom, but not on the side? Yes. Why? Inexperience. Just plain inexperience. This has only been his second, third show that he's ever been in. He did it himself. Nobody's ever taught him. He's never probably asked the questions. So I said, if that were missing and it were matted appropriately, would you want it? Yes. Do you think he would do it? I said, oh, I know he would. Trust me. So I called up his grandmother, who was a member, and I said, Emily, you gotta talk to Chris. I got a buyer, but this is not done professionally. And what happened? He sold a great photo, and it was a great learning experience because the buyer was willing to wait, a week more because it had to stay up just like that. I wasn't gonna let him take it off the wall and do it right and then hang it back up. You submitted it, you gotta live with this until it's the end of the show. And it was a great learning experience, and now he will never ever do that again. And he will look more closely at those kinds of things. His second one was a horrible frame that he painted over with what looked like gesso or house paint in a really bad way with cardboard on the back that he had painted in black that was all kind of rippled, and I said, no, I'm gonna give you a pass this time, I'll let it in the show, but just so you know, I'm gonna tell you, great photograph, it will never sell because of this. And he was like, because it was our members show and you get one in, and so that was his only one he put in. So again, it was a great learning experience. So remember that even our mess ups, we don't know everything. I certainly don't know everything. I learned more from artists than I ever learned in school. That's not quite true. I had some pretty amazing teachers.
All eyes are on the cat jar.
All right.
But does that make sense?
Oh, yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
there you are, ma'am.
Thank you.
Well done.
That artist was Marilyn Jakowski.
115?
No, the one we just looked at.
No, number 6 was
Just-
Marilyn's.
Yeah, just trying to get the artist's name on the
on the
video.
Again, the watercolor. 15.
Is this yours too?
It's upside down.
Oops. Very hot. Like this?
Yeah.
So that's,
Mitzi, what's your last name?
Shinky.
Okay, we
Mitzi
got that.
Shinky? Okay. Okay, well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I love the color palette. This is very cohesive. And I like the difference outside, because you've brought in some colors that are not fall, that's not typical blue sky. The purples play off of the opposite color of the ochre that you've used. And the hints is off center, so she's used her thirds, right? So it's intriguing in that way. There's this vine of floral that's coming down here, and you kind of want to make something out of this. Now I will tell you that what takes it away from me is that brown color of the inner mat. I hate it. It looks like baby puke. It's just not complementary to what's going on in here. The colors are so nice and lovely, and then you've just got this kind of sad color that would almost be better if it were like even a light color like this light tan, and then you go into cream or white. I wouldn't do purple. I don't think that would be attractive at all. But this does not, I don't think, complement the loveliness that you've done here. And I love these. I'm assuming you use Frisket, or I love that, because I think that gives such a depth in a painting and something interesting. It's very textural looking, even though there's no texture on it, right? It gives you that feeling of there's the little balls or little nubbins on that vine, right? I like this inner, this looks like almost a stained glass window. This is probably my favorite part. It's also the most abstract of the flowers and leaves. But this is my favorite part because all of these colors are so harmonious. She's taken the one or two colors and blended them all together to come up with those colors. But then the yellows give you that pop of color, and that bit of a red that looks a little bit like a fuchsia gives it that pop that sort of draws you in, right? That color really draws you in. So what is the first thing that you guys see when you look? Where does your eye go when you look at this?
The window.
Which part of the window?
Probably the bottom to the.
Left-hand side?
Yeah.
You go to,
Going
yeah,
down.
yeah.
right to the white, the light, right to the right there, the window. point going down. I think it applied, that kind of grabs you back.
Yeah, and see how she's also used diagonals very well, because diagonal gives you tension. If everything is going the same direction, this way or that way, it's not tension. But diagonals give you a real tension, and it creates that using of the thirds. If everything were straight up and down, that would be a very unpleasant painting, because there's nothing to take your eye around. So you kind of enter in at this sort of bottom white spot, but you go up to that flower, it leads you right back down, and you've kind of got this circular motion as your eye goes around the painting, right? So without that, that wouldn't have been as effective. So those diagonals are very effective at creating strength in that painting.
I'd buy it.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Next, number 13.
Lucky 13. Too bad it's not Friday. Pastel. Okay, whose is this? All right, is it Sue?
Yeah. I don't know if
I have
signed it.
You did. Okay. You want to take it around? So everybody can kind of see?
And is it Sue Wickersham?
No, it's Sue Davis.
Oh, you're back here.
Davis.
Oh, Sue Davis, okay, I thought Sue Wickersham was up there too.
I was, but then I came here. I've been
Okay,
here for like 20 years.
tricky.
You're just invisible, I guess.
She's a ninja. You gotta watch out for Sue. She does that to me all the time. Mostly because I'm blind on this side. She sneaks up.
I'll ring a bell next time.
Okay. This is a very traditional landscape. Now what I'll say is, I think that this picture would be better suited if it were matted and framed, to give it a little bit more depth. The colors of the sky and those purple mountains are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. What falls apart is the closer foreground mountains are too muddy. And it's very hard when you get to a certain time of day and you're looking at something that's sort of backlit, because we can tell that it's backlit because that sun is coming from behind those purple mountains where you can see the light, which is why those foreground mountains look so much in the shadow and why they're so dark. Think about all the times you've taken a picture, looked at the picture and goes, that's not what it looks like, right? I can see that those are green trees, but in my picture it looks nothing like that. So they're a little muddy, but I think that can easily be fixed. You don't have to get every tree to get some notation, because there's still going to be some highlights in there, in that mountain, even though it's in shade. There are going to be pieces and parts of the trees that are going to have a little bit of light on them. And that's what will give you a little bit more definition. I like the texture of the lake because it doesn't look like it's this super calm. You didn't just put the pastel sideways and do that. You've got some texture in there, and the texture is quite nice. I'm not sure that the shore would be that light if it's being backlit from those back mountains. So it's the opposite. If you turned that upside down and it went the other way, that would be the way that that looks, because your darkest is down here on the bottom and your lightest is up next to the foreground mountain. And then I would say either try to make the boat a little bit more not abstract, subtle. It almost looks like it's a little too big for the space, like almost just a hint of it. But you've tried to take it a little too far to make it look like there are people sitting in there, and it makes it not look good because pastel is really hard unless you use at this small a scale, you use pastel pencil to get some line that would really define it as a boat with people. I mean, from a distance, we see it just fine, but I think when we get close up, it gets a little bit, what's the word? Like it's trying to be realistic, but it's not.
Yeah,
So either go all the way or don't go there at all.
yeah, out of focus.
Yeah, and that's a great word, out of focus, but that sky and those mountains are stunning.
Oh, thanks.
I mean, that reads really, really well. I think if you just darken that base and put a little bit of highlight in that foreground mountain,
Yeah.
you've got a good piece.
Number 5, and then I would like to have a little minute that we will take and I will cheat. I would like to, because we have had questions about 3D and we have only one piece. So after number 5, I would like for you to tell us a little bit about
Absolutely.
3D so that we have an all-encompassing critique.
I agree.
Okay? So, Kathy, you will not be pulled out. I choose for you everything. But I think it would make it very interesting to hear a 3D piece, all right? So this is our class 2D, and then we'll move to.
Oh, whose is this? And you are?
Deborah Klinsman.
Deborah Klensman?
Yeah.
She did our studio tour brochure, by the way.
It was stunning too. And this is lovely.
Fab, I can't get it on the camera there. I can only get it on the camera by Cheryl.
I understand, but otherwise people don't
Okay,
see it. So
thank you.
That was nicely done.
Oil and cold wax?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's my medium, so I recognize it. I think this is really nice. I like the energy that the clouds have. I like the lights, the light on the grasses and the reeds that are growing here. This almost looks like West Sacramento, which is where I live. It almost looks like the Deepwater Channel down by where I live. I like that this has some spots in here of a little bit of brown, a little bit of darker, a little bit of lighter, but she's not trying to get you to believe that this here is a leaf and this is a leaf. She's created an illusion that is very effective by just putting a little bit of color down to give some shadow and some shade. The reeds on the other side, I think are, this is where this falls apart for me. They're coming down too drastically in the same saturation and same intensity as they are on the shore. And a reflection would never do that, right? If it were more abstract than it is, it probably wouldn't, I wouldn't think that, but it is fairly representational. I wouldn't consider it abstract, I would just call it loose, which I really love. Like I love that this yellow ochre is being picked up here, that the burnt sienna that you're picking up is touching up here in little bits, so that all of that color is being used around the painting. It's not, just this for this. It's not just the cattails that have the burnt sienna on it and the bird, but just this. There's something about this that's just not quite working. And it could be as simple as taking a little of this darker green and making a shoreline that you would see, because the reeds are going down too too much the same in the reflection, and that's not how a reflection goes on water like this. If it was completely still, you can definitely see in a photograph, if something is like, water's like glass, a reflection of a building can look the same if you turn it one way or the other. But not on water that has this much white and a little bit of ripple in it, if you will. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It is a stunning piece. Is that 14 by 14?
It is, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these clouds are, you people must get great clouds up here because you're all really good at clouds. That is my weakness. I just cannot, I did one painting once where I got good clouds. I don't know what happened to it.
The most 3D of the 3Ds.
Am I guessing right? This is Kathy Kyle?
Yeah, Kathy, this is awesome. I was just about to ask his name. Oh, I love Mortimer.
Right, well, it's a 3D piece,
So-
so we need to see it.
so-
Through each one.
This is great, and ceramics is hard because you can do the perfect sculpture, but then if you're terrible at glazing, it can ruin the whole piece. So you can have all of the symmetry, and you can have all the lines and the motion and everything in there, and you can completely ruin it by glazing it. That's the part of where a ceramicist really earns their street cred, is in their glazing and
Is it glazed or is it painted? No, it isn't glazed. The brown is just fired. That's the clay.
Okay.
So it's not, and then I just dry brushed. some
Bisque
acrylic.
fire, just, or did you cone 5?
It is cone 7.
Cone 7, okay.
Cone 7, fired, and then I just dry brushed some acrylic on it.
Nice. So, see this? These little wrinkles right here? That creates the motion and the liveliness, the animation of it. If that and the little lines around, if you open your mouth, if you've ever seen a camel, a horse, a mule, open their mouth and get these little lines, you see that those little lines, without that, it just, it becomes something completely different. I call this, this is my own term, by the way, active animation, because she's created something that's fun and whimsical in this characterized, it's not a realistic camel, right?
For sure.
But he's very fun, right? He's got attitude, there's charisma there. It has personality, but the elements like the teeth, the tongue, this shading in here and how well it blends. And I just love these like coffee bean snout on it. Just, I love that. And his little shoes. Did they just take this out of a barn? It's got, no, I'm just kidding. I think this plays so well with being abstracted real, you know, and that's why I call it that animation, because in animation, when we think about animation, it's got a lot of artistic license, right? Artistic license of how long his neck is compared to how long his feet are, how the hair doesn't really look like that, but how effective is it? It's so effective. If the hair were like that all over, it wouldn't be as cute. And it would also be, as a purchaser, how am I ever, if I could never move again, because all of that stuff is gonna break. When I look at a sculpture, that's kind of the stuff I look at, like, oh, I could never move. I'll never be able to take it with me anywhere. All that stuff's gonna break and it's not gonna be the same. And those eyelashes, they've got that almost caricatured eyelash that gives them that character. So excellent, well done. Very well done. Who are some of your favorite ceramic artists that do animals?
Guillermo, God, I love Guillermo. I can't think of his name.
Sandy Wheatstone, she does the kind of comical birds. I like the one that does the little monsters.
Beth Kavner too.
I don't know if I
Do
know
we
that
have
one.
still some time for one more?
Yeah, are you guys okay to take a shorter break?
And our second half is gonna be short, so.
And our second half will make it really short.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
All right,
Okay,
I think that someone really wanted to have another 3D-ish type, so I'll just get this
Oh,
very different.
you're like Vanna today. You're the Belgian Vanna.
And Mortimer was not light, you know, got muscles, good for you.
I love looking at him from the side because his face is just so expressive. With his lower lip just hangs a little bit.
Yeah, I was trying to show it all sides because that's what good sculpture is also about. It needs to be seen
Seen from all
outside, which you do always a really good
And I'm-
job at putting that. Yeah.
I missed it. Who was the artist on this one?
Sorry, go ahead.
Lori.
Oh, Lori Hauser, okay.
So, very different.
This is very different work for you, Lori.
I know, I'm experimenting.
Good, keep going. This is lovely. Is this glue gun and then
No,
pressed down
actually,
to create the?
it was glued on there. And then the crushed glass was put on individually and sealed with resin.
Okay, that's where I'm getting the shiny like glue, okay. This is very, is that a tile?
Yes,
And it's heavy?
yes.
You're
I have
strong.
muscles.
You have muscles. So, anybody who knows me will tell you I'm not a sparkly kind of girl. I own 2 pink shirts, and I brought one of them for you today. I'm not much of a sparkler. I hate glitter, and I don't wear like glittery things. But I really like the colors are very easy on the eye. In other words, she's done a good job with creating shadows and textures in the colors by where they sit within the pattern of the fish. I love the bubbles. I'm not sure why the bubbles are going this way, except for maybe it's that type of fish that just kind of goes around. The only criticism I really have is I probably wouldn't have put it in the middle. You painted this, correct?
No.
Or that was like that?
That's the tile.
Okay. I think I'm wondering if you could almost have created, if this were a little bit lower, and you created a little bit of greenery down here, that it were sort of swimming, I know that doesn't seem very stable. That it would have a place to sit a little bit better. And then the bubbles could be kind of more going up towards the top.
Problem is, I can't paint a straight line.
You don't need to. That's the beauty of the bottom of the sea. It doesn't it doesn't really,
No straight lines.
there's no straight lines.
You can also turn it
Yes.
sideways
Yes.
and.
Oh, let's look at it that way.
And it gives it a whole different effect.
I actually like that much better.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, okay. Sorry. So it's vertical and
It
the.
just gives dimension.
Yeah.
Pulls you into.
And he's now not quite, he's more towards, he's a little bit further to the right than he is to the bottom.
Instead of being in the.
Try a 180 where he's looking up. Let's see what that looks like.
Rotate it upside down.
Rotate it upside down. Yeah.
Sorry.
We're giving Fab a real workout here.
I like that, yeah, that's.
Let's see, Fab.
I like
Better
that.
the other way. Looks different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the
Uh-huh.
position I like it best. Now this takes on a whole new feeling of this. I like that because you've created this, it has motion everywhere, no matter which way, just because the fish itself has motion. But I really feel like it has more motion because we can imagine it sort of swimming up or down.
Flip it
In
one
this
more
way.
time with head down.
I liked it with down better.
This is gonna fall.
That works too.
I actually like
Gotcha,
it
Fab.
lengthwise, but
So my
give it one more 90.
is, should I frame it? And if I do, it's like $150 because it's so heavy.
Yeah, and finding a frame that would go with that
Oh,
is gonna be really tough.
You've got to find a certain kind.
As we were just rotating.
See, I put this on the table with a silver
Called running
easel,
for.
just on the table.
Yeah,
Which, is that the way you intended it to be?
Yes,
Like that?
yeah,
You intended it to be like this?
lengthwise, yes.
Okay.
I like that.
yeah,
The water bubbles are going
Yeah.
that way.
and the background shows up
Mhm.
a lot better. I like it this way. See, that is the beauty. When you have a really good piece of abstract art, you can turn it all around, and it's gonna appeal to 25% of the people like this, 10% like this, 45 like this, and it's just, that's what's fun about art. I actually had a piece that I hung, when I put the hanger on, it was upside down. Because I wasn't paying attention, and I went by my signature, which I had done sideways instead of down at the bottom. So I hung it that way, and then when I went in, I was like, wait, what piece is that? So, again, if you don't, I don't know if I would frame that or not. I'm trying to imagine a frame that would look good.
Put it on a swivel.
Then you can play spin the fish. Well, I was thinking about that. Yeah, or something that mimics the lines of the fish itself. Yeah, almost a brushed steel or nickel.
Yeah, charcoal color. To bring a little variety also, I made an executive decision.
Is she an executive?
Oh my God, who even let her come to this meeting?
It's really fun to bring something more abstract because when colors and shape only speak for themselves, we haven't discussed this today. So
Okay, well, let's
we've done-
discuss it.
Right?
That's pretty.
So who's 11?
It's Matt Harling.
Matt!
That's different
That's
for
so
you.
big for you.
I'm very different,
Something I did
yes.
6 years ago,
Yeah?
and I don't do much abstract, and I thought it might be good to get some
Feedback.
There you go.
on abstracts.
Oh, fabulous.
You really.
I'm like, it must be 6 years old, because that's an Aaron Brothers frame. And they're not around anymore. I look at the details.
Aaron Brothers isn't around anymore.
So I love the fact that this may be abstract, but it's still got your trees in it.
Oh, boy, I love that corner.
Far right side, a grove of trees.
That is.
Was that intentional or was that?
No?
What if it's turned around, turned upside down? Since we're doing
Sunset on the
this.
lake.
I don't see that.
No, I meant on the lake.
Make it more of a lake. My signature's upside down, but that's.
Right.
Yeah, sunrise or sunset,
Do not sign abstract art.
I actually almost like it this way better.
The stripes, when it goes.
Yeah, vertical to me, so, yes, more energy. We don't think energy is harder to see going this way as it is because of, we think of gravity as pulling things down or up, right? It's just kind of this natural thing. You don't work in watercolor that often, or you do? I've seen
At
it.
that time, I was mostly doing watercolor.
Okay, I like these things where, what I love about watercolor is these really odd bleeds. I think it's very hard to create an abstract using primary color like this. I think it's good, I don't think it's great. Turn it the other way with the signature hanging, or correctly. One more. I actually like it this way the best, in terms of whether it was gonna go horizontal or vertical, because I love those trees. If, for those of you that don't know Matt, he has an affinity to trees, and so almost every piece he has a tree in it. But I love this because it's like a glimpse of something, and we've all seen sunsets that create the unusualness, right? But to paint that, I'm not a huge fan of painted, realistic sunsets, because if I'm gonna do that, then I'm gonna take a photo. I'm one of those where if I want something realistic, I'll take a photo of it, because that's what a camera was invented for.
You can go beyond that.
Camera? Yeah, no, absolutely. There's some great things being done with abstract on cameras. But in terms of, it's why trompe l'oeil, like I said earlier, why I appreciate it, but why it's not a favorite, I wouldn't go out and buy it, if that makes sense. But I like it like this, and then I love how this green comes in here, because now if I'm looking at this in this way, now what I see is this is all land. I've got some sort of glare in the water. Look at all these little trees. So it's almost like I'm looking out in Saskatchewan or someplace in Canada where you've got all of these lakes and streams. And here's a stream, and all the red parts here, and this is a lower mountain range, and this is the sky. But it's very abstract. Now, with all the people in here, we could find, I mean, if Deborah Kelly were here, she'd probably found dragonflies and frogs and all kinds of things, because she sees stuff in my paintings, I'm like, you need to stay off the crack. But that is the great thing about something like this, the abstract, because it allows each viewer to interpret, and having just come from areas like this that have land patches, and in my own work, I like to really play with the viewer on perspective, I like to create bird's eye view, elevation view, all in the same painting, just to mess with your head. So that you have to look at, oh, now we're going this way. So the more I look at this map, because it's on the onset it seems simple, but the more you look at it, you will see more and more complexity to it. And the more I look at it, the more I like it. Because I'm starting to see things. And I'm seeing places that are definitely appealing.
And you're gonna be drawn back and back and it's gonna
To-
be,
right.
the show.
To see different things. But isn't that, I mean, if we purchase a piece of art, we purchase it because we want to view it. And something that keeps giving to us on a daily basis or a monthly basis every time we look at it is that is a true gift, and we've purchased the right thing if we never get tired of it, right? I mean, that's...
From here, I even see a little house
See?
to the left of the trees.
Oh, right there.
No, left.
No, down,
Left?
down. Left, yes. From far away, you just see the little house out there.
Okay. I saw that as another big tree, but it was kind of outlined. It was a different, those are pine trees and that's a different tree.
It looks to me like just you're sitting on the deck. You finally got away. You're in the mountains just before you
Right?
doze off.
Yeah.
Just before you
Yeah,
doze off.
it's called a long view. So we all have our lives that are so complicated and busy, and we got things to do, and very few times within our normal work week do we ever get to just sit and look out into a long view to where we're not looking at something that's right here, right? And that's what allows our mental space and creativity to start forming in a more cerebral way. Yeah. Well, thanks. You guys asked great questions. And thank you all for bringing in your art. I hope I didn't disappoint anybody.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you. That was very enlightening. Considering I don't paint at all, and I learned a lot. I did. I learned a lot. Let's go ahead. There's such a beautiful spread. Let's go ahead and take. We'll assemble back at 10 after 4. Okay. So enjoy all of the goodies over there, and we'll come back and we'll make it short. Okay. The second half will be short. We'll talk fast. Okay, thank you. Guys, we gotta roll the second half now. Okay, but come sit.
Okay, we'll record.
Okay, guys, we're gonna wrap this up. Can you hear?
Yes.
Okay. You can't hear here. You can hear here. Okay, got it. Yeah. Okay. Just a couple of things. We've got Linnell up here. She's not in the dunce chair. You're not. No.
I'm not wearing the hat.
And I'm going to turn the meeting over to Linnell after I'm done. And what I just wanted to bring up to date, the Motherlode show is rockin' and rollin'. It's doing well. Who here has entered in the Motherlode show?
Almost.
Almost?
Have to
Okay.
submit.
I need to hear the critique before.
Who here hasn't entered but is going to? Okay, good. You've got until September 18th.
Wednesday.
And it's,
1 hour before midnight.
Oh, I thought it was 10 p.m.
Well, it's before midnight, that's for sure.
10:59 p.m. 10:59, not midnight.
10:59, 1 hour and 1 minute before
Okay,
midnight.
there you go. So get your entries in, okay? That'd be appreciated. Member show. The member show is coming up October 7th, and it'll run for the whole week. And of course, where's Cheryl?
Right here.
Oh, there's Cheryl, our illustrious Cheryl. She's going to judge the show. And it is not juried in, so what you bring, you can enter. And
Up to 4 pieces.
Up to four
Up to 4
pieces.
pieces, and if you want a 3D pedestal, check with Kathy, because she might still have 1 or 2.
I've got, I think I've got 3 that are hanging out there. And we've got 9 altogether, which means, Cheryl, that's 9 3D pieces that are gonna be out there.
And before you move off the show, might I say, there is a sign-up sheet over there on the front desk that if you plan to sit the show or you would like to volunteer for intake, the schedule is over there, and if you will sign in, put your email and your phone number, I'll enter you in the computer system and you'll get your official notifications. Otherwise, I'm gonna track you down when you bring your entries, and then you have to make a commitment.
Linnell, are you gonna send out the emails like you did before?
Yeah, you're already in the system, pedestal curator.
Well, yeah, but I'm not
But her
sitting.
email-
No, but-
I want to sit.
Yeah, you can sign up over there.
I'm not gonna get a sitting email?
Probably not, because this is your chance.
Okay, I wanna sit, I love sitting the show. Okay, so you guys have that? Also, the category is subject matter. So for example, Mortimer is an animal. He will be in all of the animals, okay? Paintings, whatever else becomes an
Mixed
animal.
media, anything that's an
Yeah.
animal goes in animal, except AI and photography are their own separate categories.
Oh.
Separate. I don't want any of your stuff touching mine.
Linnell's got it in with it. And I also want to, the brunch, our Christmas brunch this year is going to be the Sportsman's Hall Bar, which is in Camino. Love
Pollock
to have
Pines.
you.
Pollock
Okay.
Pines.
Isn't it in?
Pollock Pines.
Okay, it's in Pollock
But who's counting?
Pines.
What happens if it snows?
And I asked that question. The roads will be plowed because they are. When it snows, the roads are plowed. They got a huge parking lot and that'll be plowed as well.
What's the date?
That is Friday, December 6th, and it's at 10:30, okay?
AM.
What I'm gonna do is have Sue put a shout out in the November newsletter. And if you're coming, you gotta talk to me about it, okay? Because I'm going to make sure that we've got enough reservations, okay? Appreciate that. And the art tour, Matt, I don't know if you wanna come up and talk about the art tour, which is coming up in what, a week?
A weekend and 4 or 5 days. Friday, the 27th through Sunday, the 29th is the art tour. And we have a lot of advertisement that's going to get started this week and next week. We're gonna have an article in the Mountain Democrat. Thanks to Sylvia, thank you. And we've got Facebook and Instagram posts that we're gonna be doing. And but I would like to invite each of you, if you haven't already, even if you're not participating in the tour, you can still hand out brochures and postcards. You don't have to mail the postcards. You can hand them out to people. It's got the QR code on them so that people can go to the webpage to get all the information. Nice little brief thing. Yeah.
Matt, do I have any of those at the Mac?
I took some down there.
Okay.
If you need more, I can give you some more.
There's 3 bundles over here on the back, if anybody wants to grab a bundle on the back table.
I just want to make sure, because we have open studios this week,
Yeah.
and so that's a lot of people.
Let me give you a few more, but
Okay.
I did, I
I'm
can't
happy
remember
to.
who I called the number.
Andrea.
Yeah, talked to Andrea.
Perfect.
I put some in the.
Good job.
She wasn't there, but yeah, there was several weeks ago I did that.
If
Okay.
you're a member and you try to reach me during the member meeting, I won't pick your call up.
Whoa,
But
Tough love.
I would the success of the studio tour is having people know about it. And the signs that go up on this side of the road are good, but, you know, inviting your friends to go out, even if you're not on the tour, please help us out.
And we've got a special hook this year. Be sure and tell people that every venue that they visit, use the sign-in sheet. Sign in for a chance to win artwork. We have donations of 13 pieces of
16.
art. 16 pieces of art. They snuck 3 in on me. 16 pieces of art that we will be giving away at the conclusion of the tour.
So kind of like the passport system.
Yeah, except you don't have to go to every one, because what we were trying to encourage is we don't want those people that just buzz in and sign and buzz out. So you get a chance to win at every studio you enter. You won't win more than once,
So
unless we have less than 16 people sign up.
Let's hope not.
We have 11 studios, 11 opportunities to sign in, so you have 11, if you go to all 11, you have 11 chances to win.
3 days.
And you've got 3 days to go to all 11.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're
These-
good,
these are over here.
and, thank you, Matt. And, we're gonna turn it over to Linnell. She's got a lot to say in 9 minutes.
So the one thing for 2024 that I would like to add, and then I'm going to mostly talk about 2025, is that the Motherlode Show opens November 7th. The reception will be November 8th, and the receptions are always awesome. So be sure and come to the show, come to the reception. It's a lot of fun. If you're interested in volunteering for the Motherlode Show, either to help at the reception or to sit a shift while the show is open, the person that's handling that volunteer list is Carolyn Cunningham. So drop her an email, and she will be happy to let you know what she still needs help with and coverage on. So I'm going to talk about, Cheryl spent most of her time talking about the things that were over there on your right. I'm going to talk about the things that are to your left, and why in the world do we have all those wood blanks out there? Well, a lot of you know that one of the things that happens at Placerville Arts Association is we will get calls with donations from estates. So sometimes it's art, sometimes it's art supplies. Like last week, I picked up a huge donation of beads. She told me it was 5 boxes. It's at least 20 boxes. All kinds of little boxes of beads and such. And so if you happen to use beads in your artwork and would like to come out and look at what we have in Art Barn and make a donation to our outreach fund, we would love that. But we got this rather large donation of folk art and folk art blanks from Wendy Braun, who is Patricia Weir's surviving daughter. Patricia Weir was a folk artist from the Pennsylvania area. She migrated out here to be near her daughter and her grandchildren, and she was active in Arts and Culture El Dorado when she first moved here. She painted often at Apple Hill. Her obituary even says that you would see her painting along Main Street. I don't know if any of you knew Patricia. Usually Marilyn at this point is shaking her head yes, so I think she was not a member of our group. However, Arts and Culture suggested that the daughter contact me, and she did about a year after her mom passed away, and I went and picked up 21 large boxes of a donation. And it actually was 2 loads in my van to get it all over to Art Barn. And I sold a bit of it at the most recent Art Barn, but I thought it would be wonderful to celebrate this donation by using it in a challenge next year. So the reason that these things are spread out on these tables back there is I'm encouraging you to pick what you like out of it, and we're gonna let the blanks speak to you. That's the name of the challenge. There's no theme. Just pick out something or more than one something over there. Let it speak to you and paint it. Look at Sherry Lynn Moore. She's like, I'm on it. I'm on it, baby. I got it. Take more than one. Paint 3 of those.
It's always the ones that have a barn.
Yeah, right. And so I'm inviting you to do that. And in addition to the challenge, keep in mind that during our holiday party, we exchange art. This year it's going to be art supplies, and if you wanted to grab one of those holiday themed items that are on the table that Sherry Lynn just went after, that first table there, you could decorate that and paint that up and bring it as your gift exchange for the holiday party. So no charge, help yourself to the blanks. It's a donation to our outreach fund, and I told the daughter that we were likely going to do this challenge, which is why I'm sitting here on camera, so that she'll be able to see it and know that that's happening. And then when we actually do the challenge at our January meeting, we'll also make sure we film that and then show her what lovely things you made out of her mom's donation. Then I wanted to talk to you guys just a little bit. I've got about 4 minutes left here, and I don't think it'll take quite that long, about the events that we have planned for next year. So in addition to our monthly member meetings that are the third Monday of the month, except for January and February, when they will be the second Monday of the month, we have a show scheduled at the Signature Gallery on Main Street. This is Arts and Culture El Dorado's Switchboard. Damn. Thank you. That went right on the tape. You know, I corrected the board agenda with that word, and I still can't get it right. It is the Switchboard Gallery. It's at 525 Main. It was where the old switchboard used to be for the county. And so all the wires and holes that they stuck the things into were in that building. And it's now an art gallery run by Arts and Culture El Dorado. And they have offered us a show that will be almost a month long. And they are open 7 days a week. We are going to need to jury the show because it is a smaller gallery. It's more along the size of the Bank of America Gallery at Harris Center. So we're thinking probably something in the neighborhood of 30 2D pieces, maybe 15 3D pieces, and then we have room for 2 or 3 actual floor pieces, and we'll put a limit on how large those can be, probably not more than 36 inches at the base. So that's coming up. We'll be doing a call to artists on that soon. We also have our spring member show. It has not been calendared yet, but we will be trying to get that for the week that we pay taxes at the government center, because that's when we sell the most art. So that, we love that week. We'll do, I'm hoping that we'll do another springtime at Burke Junction this year. We will have our art tour in September. We will have our fall member show. We will have our Motherlode show. I believe that's already scheduled for Cheryl's Gallery for next year.
59th.
59th. We're trying to get her to promise the 60th, but we haven't quite gotten her there. Everybody be nice to her. We're working on it. And then October through December, we're going to have another member show at the Bank of America Gallery at Harris Center. And then, of course, there'll be the woo-hoo holiday party there in December. And so those are the events that we have to look forward to next year. And that's all I have for the meeting. So take those blanks back there and let them speak to you, because every one you take, I don't have to carry back to my car.